Hi, I'm Brittney Saunders and welcome to Big Business, the place where business is far from boring, and today I'm recording on Gadigal land. Now, I somehow managed to build an empire from the garage underneath my house, and I'm here to share it all with you. From the wins, the mistakes, the challenging times and the funny moments in between. So whether you're in business already or maybe you're not in the game at all, perhaps you just want to hear some tea, I'm saying this all wrong. Coming up on today's episode, I'm going to be sharing with you some of the things that I have learned in my journey that I guess I never really thought about until I got into it. I think a lot of the time people can go into business with not a single clue about anything, and that was absolutely me. Trust me, some days now I still feel like I don't know what I'm doing, but we just wing it. But today I'm going to share with you some of the more surprising things that I learned, especially in my early days, and things that I guess others wouldn't really think about. I'm taking you back to when I very first started Fate. A lot of these are things that I learned early on. And I guess all of these things were a bit of a slap in the face in those early days. But obviously now they're things that I'm completely fine with. So the first one is when it comes to employing people, and as you all know, that is really scary. I've spoke about it before. It's really scary, especially when you're first starting out. You've just come from working full-time jobs and getting a pay slip yourself. You're all of a sudden self-employed, and then you're also going to become someone's boss. So I would say the first thing, paying superannuation and leave. So your sick leave and your annual leave to your staff. When I first started Fate, I had obviously only ever worked for myself and then also for other people. And I guess I'd come off the back of working full-time jobs. And when you work a full-time job, you know, you get your pay slip every week or every month in your situation, Xander, however often you're getting your pay slips. And I'd worked multiple full-time jobs and you just never really thought about it. You know, you would get your pay slip, you'd look at all the hours you did and what you got paid. And then you would see in there, you know, super, and you just be like, oh, yeah, super, however much that is on the pay slip. And then maybe, let's say I had a sick day that week as well, and then you would see your personal leave. When you're an employee, you look at your pay slip and you don't think anything of it. You just think, yep, that's my pay. And I think one of the things that really took a bit of getting used to, especially when I very first started Fate and I was, you know, I had my first employee and I was doing her payroll, like that in itself was something that I needed to get used to. But it was the fact that we as employers have to pay superannuation additional to people's pay. You know, when you sign someone up to come and work for you, you obviously know what you're going to be paying them, but then their leave entitlements and super is something additional that you have to pay. And I don't want people to get my words twisted. I feel like on the internet, some people can get things twisted and say, she hates paying super. Like, no, I don't. I understand that this is what we have to pay, but it just took me a little while to get used to that. And it made me realize, oh shit, like this is something extra that our employers pay to us. And it's not just something that, I don't know, I can't even explain it, but just looking at those pay slips for all those years and seeing super on there, I thought nothing of it. I was like, yeah, that's my super. But then being on the other end and having to pay that super, it kind of took me by surprise, especially because back then you paid super every 3 months to your employees. So as I grew my team and got more and more employees, I would get that like notification every 3 months. And when I started Fate, I was doing all the pay run and everything myself. And so every 3 months I'd be getting this bill that I essentially had to pay to all of my staff. And it was just something that took me a little bit to get used to. Is all right, every 3 months I'm going to be, you know, having this large sum, and because it's 3 months worth and if you've got a lot of employees, it just took me a little bit of getting used to going, holy shit, like this is a part of business that I am committing to when I'm hiring people. And same goes for when someone has a sick day or if they have an annual leave day. Yes, everyone's entitled to all their leave. That's the whole point. But from a solo employer's side, it was just really, I guess, interesting to experience. Like this person has had a day off for whatever reason, but I'm going to pay them for that. It was like more of a mental thing for me, and it's just something that took me a little while to get used to.
Hello, it's Xander.
Hey.
Question, when you offer employment to people who apply to work at Fate, when you offer them their hourly rate, because you pay by hour,
yes,
do you tell them what their like year sum would be?
Yeah, I spell that out for them,
Yep.
especially, I know we spoke about this already on the pod. If
Yep.
you haven't listened to that episode, at Fate we pay everyone by the hour. But because a lot of people maybe have come from, you know, working on a salary, we will spell it out to them. So you're on this per hour, but it's this much per year.
And when you say what their year sum is that with super included?
No.
Or do you then say plus super?
Yeah.
Cool. Because sometimes employers will be like, this is your
super.
salary and this includes super. And then it's up to the employee to then like work out, okay, so what am I actually being paid for the year?
So our super is on top of that,
Cool.
which I believe is 11.5% or something.
Yeah,
I
think it went up to 11.9.
Yeah,
I could be making shit up.
I think when
though.
I started Fate, it was like 9 or 9.5. So that's
maybe now it's gone to 11. But yeah.
So no, our super is on top of whatever they're getting paid.
Yeah.
And that's something to be mindful of as well. When you are starting a business and you are going to employ people, remember that. Whatever wages you're paying out to your staff, you're going to pay an extra 11 point something % on top of that if you choose to structure the business that way. But it's just one of those, I guess, hidden little costs. It's not hidden, it's obvious, but it's just one of those extra costs that you have to factor in when you are in business and you're going to be employing people. And you've got to remember as well, the more and more people that you hire, that 11.5 or whatever it is % becomes bigger and bigger and bigger because it's for every single employee.
And do you budget that separately to the wages that you pay?
No, not so much now. It kind of just all...
You're just like, cool.
We have to pay
We're going to pay them this, so let's just budget for this anyway as their pay.
Yeah, and I think now, because we used to do super every 3 months, but I'm pretty sure now it might even be monthly, which is less of a hit.
Yeah.
You know, because if you've got 60-something employees...
No, it's like when the electricity bill comes in, you're like, oh, damn.
Yeah, so I don't know. AJ does all this now because he took the payroll off me a little while ago. But yeah, I'm pretty sure he does it monthly now because when it used to be, every 3 months and we've got 50 employees, it was like a huge amount. And then you're like, oh shit, and you've got to pay it all at once. But especially if you are starting out in business, put money aside for that because it'll come out of nowhere and you might owe, $10,000 or $15,000 or $20,000. I don't even want to know how much our super payments are now, but it's just one of those little things that took me a little bit of getting used to. And it just kind of opened my eyes because, when I was an employee for all of my life, I never thought about super in that way. I was just like, yeah, that's my super, but your employer pays it. This kind of leads me on to the next thing that took me by surprise. I don't know how to structure this or word it exactly. I don't know if these are things that took me by surprise or things that took me a bit of getting used to, but the next one was tax in general. I still, I understand tax, but I still don't. And again, thinking back to when I was an employee and I'd see that pay slip and I'd see the tax was already worked out for me and taken out, I never thought of it. And so going into business, and another one of my points in this is just how expensive everything is. So tax and how expensive everything is kind of falls into the same category. Tax when you're in a business is just insane. And from what I've learned over the years is the bigger your business grows and the more successful you become, which is amazing, the higher your tax bill is going to become. And you cannot escape it. I see so many people say, oh, well, that's a tax write-off. And I'm like, do you even understand how that works? Like if you buy a new car, people go, oh, but that's tax write-off. What, you think you just get it for free? Like if you buy a $100,000 car through the business, you still pay the $100,000. And I think a lot of people get that twisted and think, oh, tax write-off, that means she's going to get it all back in tax. But that's not how it works at all. Like you still absolutely pay that $100,000. You part ways with that $100,000 for that car. Tax is an absolute killer, as we are all aware. It doesn't matter if you're a business or a employee, a single person, I was going to say. It's just one of those things that slaps you in the face every time. And when you're a business, every quarter you get a BAS bill. Again, I don't know if we're doing that every month now or something. Anyway, it just feels like you can never really get ahead a lot of the time in business because it gets ahead and you're like, amazing. And then boom, your super's due and your BAS is due, and then you're up for, so much money. So that was another thing that just took me a little getting used to, is just how many bills you're getting from the government.
Question, when you started Fate, were you solely doing, and I'm talking when you had maybe like 4 employees, were you doing the finance, the payroll yourself?
Yes.
How did you find that? Like starting that? Was that a big kind of like learning for you to get your head around that?
There's a lot of software now that makes it pretty easy. And obviously it was great that we started with one employee. So I learnt doing one employee's pay, and then you just add more kind of thing. And all the software out there now does make it a lot easier.
Any recommendations for people who are starting a business who are looking to hire employees? Is it a certain, like, what's the software that they could be using?
I mean, there's a billion softwares out there. I'd say definitely use one from the beginning. Don't just transfer your staff money or whatever. I just can imagine that would get messy. But my 2 recommendations would definitely be Xero, like Xero, and MYOB. They're the 2 top dogs. The next one is more of a mental one, and it's the fact that at any given point in time, there is never not going to be something going wrong in your business. There is never going to be a point where everything is running 100% smoothly. And if you don't deal well with, I don't want to use the word drama, if you don't deal well with stress or something going wrong or things feeling out of your control, business will be the biggest kick in the guts for you if you decide to go on this journey, because at no point is there not some kind of problem happening. It could be a logistical problem. It could be a people problem. I've found, especially since having more and more staff, there's never not one small conflict happening. Now, I'm not saying terrible things are happening all the time, but it could be more so one week someone's just maybe upset by something that someone else said. 2 people aren't getting along. I find a lot of problems do come from people because everyone's just so different. And that's just a huge thing that I've learned is nothing is ever going to be 100% smooth sailing and everyone's happy and la-di-da-di-da. It's almost like you have to be accepting of the fact that something is always going to be going wrong. And I think it's better to accept that and embrace it rather than striving for perfection and everyone being 1,000,000% happy. So yeah, that's been a huge one that I've learned over the years is nothing is ever just going to be running 100% smoothly. But in saying that, if things are going wrong, you can't let that stop you from still enjoying the process, even if there are some staffing issues happening or 2 employees have said something to one another that's upset them. Like those tiny little things are always going to happen. But I guess for me as the owner, yes, I'm going to care about that and we're going to fix that. But I still have to continue focusing on the big picture, and I can't let all those little things that are happening, the little fires that are happening, get in my way of, I guess, moving the business forward. The next one is a simple one, but it's just how long everything takes. Especially in business, if you want to make something happen, you've got to give it time and then even more time on top of that. And I think when you are working towards a goal, you can get really impatient and you can want things to happen tomorrow. But in business, you have to be so bloody patient, especially for us working in fashion. You know, we've got our community asking us to come out with all different things all the time. Can you come out with this? Can you come out with nurse scrubs? Can you come out with a bridal range? And I think we live in this world where, you know, everyone wants everything right now. And it's really tricky to manage that demand from your community when you know just how long everything takes. If we want to create a new item at Fate, for example, let's say I want to come out with a bridal range. Let's say, give me a year. Like that's how long it's going to take. Our lip oils that we've been working on, it's now been 2 years. Whereas I think when you are an entrepreneur and you do have that fiery kind of personality, you want things to happen really quickly. But I have learnt over the years that all good things take time. I know that's a really like cliche saying, but it's so true. And I posted a video about our lip oils the other day, and someone commented on TikTok and said, how did it take 2 years to design a tube? And I'm like, I know, I get it.
Let's do an episode on it.
I get it. You'd think that things happen really quickly, but they don't. And you've got to work so far ahead of yourself. At Fate, we are coming out with new styles every single month, but the styles that we're coming out with today, we placed an order for 5 or 6 months ago, and we designed 7 or 8 months ago. So yeah, you've got to be really organized and also really patient at the same time. The next one, I actually asked AJ last night. I told him that I was doing this episode and I said, what are some things that you have learned being in business with me? And his was, you can't just work for 8 hours. Just straight up. You can't just work for 8 hours. I think a lot of people perhaps might go into business, maybe they're coming from working in other jobs and they absolutely hate it. And I've heard people say, like, I just want to work for myself. I want to set my own hours. I want to have my freedom. I want to be able to just put my feet up. I want to be able to go on holidays and just, make my own schedule. And whilst that may be the reality for some business owners, and maybe some people have set themselves up so that they can be super flexible and only work half the time, I think the reality of it is you're going to work harder than you ever have in your entire life. And truthfully, our office and warehouse hours are 8 till 4. Do you want to know when I get most of my work done? At night. That is where I get my work done, at night, because I guess when everyone's on the clock during the day, I'm worrying about them. I'm working with them and, worrying about what they're doing in their day to day. It's when they finish at 4 and I know that I'm not going to talk to them anymore. Why did I just rhyme? That's when I know I can go home and rip into doing that important stuff that I really want to get done.
What kind of things do you work on once the working days finish and you have time to sit down yourself?
Everything and anything. The main things would be writing our stock orders and trying on our samples. I sample everything off myself and I sometimes try them on at work in the day, but when I'm at the office or at the warehouse, it's like I'm a magnet and everyone's like, hey Britt, hey Britt, hey Britt, hey Britt, hey Britt, all day long. So if I'm going to be going and sitting in our office or the warehouse for the day, I know that anything I actually want to concentrate on, I cannot do. I cannot. Even if I put headphones on, it'll be like tap on the shoulder every 5 minutes. The main things that I'm doing at home at night definitely is our stock ordering. So writing up our stock orders for new styles or restocks, that's a huge part of my job, and trying on samples, taking photos, doing videos, then chatting with our production team on resampling styles or whatever it may be. And then I guess it's just everything else as well. Writing out my podcast episodes, I do that at night. This episode that I've just written it in a note on my phone. I'm pretty lucky when it comes to the pod, but I do that at night. And a lot of the time I just do shit at night that's going to help the team for the next day. And I'm really mindful with that I'm not overstepping any of our teams. And I'd say the team that I'm obviously the most involved in is our marketing team. So whether we've got an activation coming up or a photo shoot coming up and I know they're swamped, I'll just go in like a bulldozer and, write out everything that they need and send them emails at night, just being like, hey, I've done this for you tomorrow. Sorry if I'm overstepping. They're always like, no, thank you so much for doing this, because then it gets them ahead for the next day. So yeah, it's just a lot of admin-y stuff. And that's when I feel the most creative as well at night, weirdly. That's when I get most of my work done. And I love it. Like, I love going home and just sitting on my laptop, putting the headphones on or just having the TV on in the background and doing my thing. This is another good one that I've thought about a lot. And it was kind of something that I've learnt over the years in business. You cannot trust anyone, but you have to trust everyone. You can't trust anyone. Like, you literally cannot trust anyone, but when you're in business, you have no choice but to absolutely 110% trust everyone, 1,000,000%, and just wait for them to prove you otherwise.
I was going to say, is it a trust until you can't situation?
Yeah, I would say. And I've obviously learnt a lot through trusting people over the years. And again, if you are one of those people that is like, I don't trust anyone, like I can't trust anyone doing anything, business is not for you. Because if you're going to be in business where you're hiring people and you need those people to run your business day to day, you have to trust them with everything. And if you're a boss and a business owner that has trust issues, that's going to show to your employees. They're going to feel that you don't trust them with anything. And then you're going to micromanage them or, look over their shoulder constantly. But yeah, it's been one of the biggest lessons for me is you've got to trust everyone, but also you can't trust anyone. And it's just always that way. But I always give everyone 110% of my trust until I'm proven otherwise. And if I'm never proven otherwise, then how good is that? The next one was another one of AJ's, and I completely agree with him on this. A big lesson that we've learned over the years and are still learning to this day is there's always an easier way to do everything. Even if you think you have got it all down to a T and all of your systems are perfect and all of your procedures are perfect and the way that you do everything is perfect and you've got a flow happening, there's a better way to do it. And I think as business owners, we have to be open to adapting and changing and thinking of new ways to do things. Otherwise, you'll get stuck in your ways. And I think a lot of business owners and businesses in general are stuck in their ways. And I think it's so easy to just get caught up in the way that you do things, but I think that's when you would probably see a lot of businesses fail, is if they don't evolve and adapt and change the way that they do things. And that's one thing that I'm huge on at Fate. I feel as if though every week we are changing the way we do something, and you've got to be absolutely open to that and not have that mindset of, no, this is the way we've always done it and that's just the way that we're going to keep doing it. On the back of that, there's an app for everything. Doesn't matter what you're thinking of that you want to do in your business. Doesn't matter. There's an app for it. Someone's already thought of it and there's an app for it. Search that app and download that app to make your life easier. And if you'd actually like to know about my favorite apps, it was a bonus episode, wasn't it? There's a bonus episode in my feed of all my favorite apps that you absolutely need to download. Not sponsored. I'll happily be sponsored by any of those apps that I mentioned, but go find that episode if you want to hear all of the apps that we use every single day to run Fate and my life, essentially. The next one is a big one that I have heard a lot of people say over the years, and I've seen quotes about it and everything, and it's got to do with your friends and family. Your friends and family will be interested in your business, but they'll never understand it and they won't be your number one customers. If you are at the beginning of your journey or if you're interested in starting a business, think beyond your friends and family being your customers. You're thinking way too small if you want to start a business and you know your friends and family are going to place an order with you or support you. They will in the beginning. And again, like I've got a different family to everyone else. Like someone else might have a business and their family might be their number one customers. Who knows? But it's really interesting being in business and I guess being in my business that I'm in and just interacting with our friends and family about it. I think no one in our lives understands what AJ and I do. Not even his parents. Like they know obviously what we do. They know that we have retail stores and they know we have a big warehouse and they know we ship orders. But it's just so interesting at how much they don't actually understand, I guess, the enormity of what we do. And same goes for like, obviously my nan is a lot older and doesn't understand online shopping or anything like that. But, you know, she still asks me, how's your clothes going? Like, you know, it's so not what it is in their minds. And same, you know, for AJ's parents, they know that we run this successful business. I don't think they know how successful it is or how big it is. And same for all of our friends, you know, we'll catch up with them like, how's everything going? We're like, good. And they obviously see what we post online, but they don't really understand it. And that's just a really interesting part of being in business. I think it is just really important to think beyond your friends and family when you are starting a business. Don't have that mentality of that's going to be your customers. Think about who your target audience is. Who is the person that you want to be shopping with your business or coming in for your services? Chances are it's not going to be the people in your family. They're not going to fit into that demographic. But yeah, I'd say that. It's surprising how much your friends and family aren't involved in your business. And hey, I have had friends and family involved in my business and it didn't work out. So it's good to keep it separate. But additional to that, not just the people that I've had in my business that are friends and family, but just talking with your friends and family. It's just so, I know I keep saying the word interesting. Everything is interesting to me, but just people not quite understanding what it is that you're doing. It's just always going to be that way. I've seen some videos popping up on TikTok just in the last week of friends getting together to do like a career party. Have you seen this, Xander?
I have not.
Okay, so everyone's doing this trend right now where you get together with your friends and it's like a drinking night and you do it at someone's house. And up on the TV, you all do like a slideshow and presentation of actually what it is that you do at work, even obviously for people that aren't in business. Because I guess none of us really know in depth what our friends do at their jobs day to day. Like, we'll know our friend is a real estate agent and we'll know our friend's an auctioneer. Like, I think of all of our friends and what they do, but that's all we know about it. So it's been a really cool trend to see. You kind of sit down and you create like a Canva slideshow and explain your job to your friends. I feel like I want to do that.
I want to do that.
Yeah.
That sounds like a fun party.
Yeah. Have a few
responsible beverages.
Yep.
And discussing what you do in your job.
Yeah.
Sounds like a party to me in my 30s.
Let's do it. Leading on to my last one. And you know what? There will absolutely be probably a part 2, 3, 4, 5 because I've learned a lot over the years in my business journey. But leaving you with my last one, no one is going to motivate you more than yourself. That's a hard one to remember because I think you can always get so caught up in the day-to-day and sometimes you can feel like you're in a bit of a flop, but no one's going to make it happen more than you. And I've heard a lot of business owners say, you know, no one's going to work as hard in your own business as you do. And on that, I agree. But I think the tricky thing with people saying that, like, your employees are never going to work as hard as you, it's almost belittling to the staff. But it is true, but not in a way where I'm saying they don't work as hard as me. It's just because you're wired differently when it's your business compared to just working for a business. And the thing with that as well is your employees are employed to do a certain job and they'll absolutely, if you've got good ones, they'll do their absolute best at it and kill it and be motivated. And I'd like to say that all of our Fate staff definitely do have that drive. But the difference between someone being employed to do a job and have a job title is, like, I am technically employed by Fate and I am an employee, but I'm not employed to just do a certain job. My job is to run the thing. My job is to drive the thing forward. No one is going to drive that business forward more than the owner. If you're working in the business, obviously. Some people own businesses and have got nothing to do with it. But yeah, no one's going to make it happen more than you are. And I think that's just something that we have to constantly remind ourselves of as business owners is, let's keep this bloody thing going. And you know what? That's why I kind of like when I drive down to Sydney every week to record the podcasts, is I have a lot of time to think to myself and I like listen to good music and I get really motivated and I'm like, yeah. But I think you've got to have that attitude when you are a business owner is just get up every day and be excited. I saw a TikTok the other day and it was, you know how some people do like motivational TikToks and they like their video starts and it's just them being motivating straight away. I saw this guy and he just came up on my For You page and he goes, "Why are you not excited? Why are you not excited?" And then he went on a tangent about you're so lucky to be here and all this and that and you're in control of your life. And like as cringy as it was, it made me have like a little light bulb moment because we just get caught up in the rat race of life and this and that and staff and business and whatever and work and life balance. But I don't know. I think we just have to remind ourselves every now and then to just be fucking excited, even though we have so much shit happening. Be excited. And that's what I try to do every day is just wake up and be excited.
Is that your tip of the week as well?
Yeah. Now that I'm saying it, that's also my tip of the week. Be excited. Why are you not excited? And I feel like I can say that and people are like, well, I've got all this stuff going on and this happened. And yes, shit happens throughout our entire lives and we cannot avoid that at all. Wouldn't it be good if we could? But we can't. Life is always going to throw us curveballs. Personal life, business life, work life, relationships, something's always going to be happening. Just like I said before, in business, something's always happening, but we still need to try to be excited every day. And that's something that I definitely do, is just be excited. So those are just a few lessons that I've learnt in my years. There's obviously many more, and I'll be sure to share part 2, 3, 4, and 5 with you. I'm positive of that. But that's it, my friends. That's my episode done for the week. Remember to chase after your dreams as if they owe you money.